Me know.
Okay, hi. Hey.
Hi, this is Kathy Bartoli from the I can't even talk, I'm laughing.
We weren't laughing before this started.
Are you the Kathy Bartoli from the Intimacy Dojo?
Kathy Bartoli from the Intimacy Dojo.
Oh, I've heard about them.
And we're here today with Dixie de la Tour from Bawdy Storytelling and some of her fabulous storytellers. I encourage you to check out the site. And if you're in an area where they're telling a story, go check it out because it was amazing for me. I got to hear people telling honest, authentic stories. They were really vulnerable and they were hysterically funny. And it helps you see that things aren't scary. You're not alone with your stories in your head. Your experience, like, oh my God, in college I did this and I was the only one that ever felt that way. Mm-hmm. So, would you guys like to share a little bit about Bawdy?
Well, I think part of the reason it started for me is I realized there's all these different communities. We don't talk to each other, and we all have the same story. I mean, the details are different, but the reason how we got there, we all just were pulled towards something, and the adventure, and often it's not always a successful adventure, but you learn about yourself. There's a moment of transformation where you go, I'm gonna walk away with that tidbit, aren't I? Now I know that about myself. What would you guys say about Bawdy?
I feel like we're in some sort of Bing Crosby family reunion video. Where I'm looking at the computer to see you guys, and I'm realizing that the people who are watching are probably like, why is Reed staring at us? But it's easier than me being like, hi. What was the question?
Why do you like Bawdy? I have an answer that I'd like to jump in with. It's that Bawdy is like the revival tent of alt sex. Like, you go there, you might be uninspired, you might think you're alone, and you go there and you hear something from a different community of alternative sexuality that maybe you're part of, and you're cheering for all the obscure references, or maybe you're left out, but you're loving that people have, code that you don't know yet. And you leave inspired, and you talk to people at the show, before and after.
Or you hear things people that are into that you're into that you'd never heard anyone talk about in public before. Because I think the other thing with people who are kind of looking for their sexuality or the things that turn them on the internet is you actually never hear anybody in a real live space talk about something that you're interested in or something that you've been curious about. So the internet, while you can realize that you're not alone, isn't the same as having somebody tell a story, especially a humorous one, in a live event. And I think that in the internet, while you can feel like there are people that are your species, you never get to meet them, so not meeting them in person creates this weird effect sometimes too.
And plus, even if it's not like a particular thing that like you wanted to hear somebody talk about, I found that it was really nice to just hear people humanize the experience of sex. Because sometimes it's really easy for me to get caught up in my head, like hearing people talk about porn or their scene or their website or their group, and it's like sex is so glamorous and perfect for everyone except for me. And somehow it manages to like make it seem okay that like I had that really funny thing that was super embarrassing because somebody else had something equivalent that was like, oh my God, we're all in this together. Like, so relieving. Yeah.
But it's also not just funny. A lot of it is funny, and most of the stories do have humor in them. But there's also that point where a lot of people share very intimate things about themselves that aren't very funny at times. And so you relate to that. You have that personal experience with it as well. There are times I go to Bawdy and I laugh hysterically, and then there are times where you stop and you're like, yeah, that happened to me, or that I know that happened. So in that respect, it's very nice to go somewhere where you can hear things like that. And it's not group therapy. You can just sit there and have someone talk about themselves.
Yeah, it's not therapy, but it can be therapy.
Right.
It's witnessing. It's witnessing and mirroring. It's getting to see yourself in a real person who's 5 feet away from you instead of an internet world away. I think and some people I have heard refer to it as their church, which is pretty intense, but at the same time, like for a lot of people, that kind of healing, that kind of soothing, it only happens in spaces where you're allowed to laugh and you're allowed to cry and you're allowed to feel really comfortable amongst other people. Right.
That would make you our church leader.
We're worshiping at the Temple of Dixie.
Can I be like an evangelist, a Southern evangelist?
You would be an amazing evangelist.
For sex.
I would join that church.
Much better eye makeup than Tampa.
Better rack, too.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to see some of their shows, they do have some on YouTube. Just search for Bawdy Storytelling. They're amazing, wonderful stories.
And it's BAWDY.
BawdyStorytelling.com.
Like Mae West Bawdy.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.